Welcome back to Baldman Motors. In today's video, I wanted to take some time and provide the tools to answer a question that I receive a lot in my comment section when referencing which is better to buy, a C55 or C32 AMG. I have owned both and I prefer the C55, but because they are so similar in so many ways, it's the small differences that we're going to take a look at today. Now I ask you, the viewer, to take the information I provide here and establish your own conclusion on which W203 car you think is the better buy.
This video is sponsored by me. We're about to cross 1,300 subscribers, and that means so much to me. So what I'd like to do is a giveaway. I'm giving away a brand new, never used Bosch 010 intercooler pump. For this first giveaway, it will be for viewers located in the US. This pump is pretty easy to install. It fits many AMGs with superchargers such as my old C32 or my current W211 E55 and many, many more. To enter, please get subscribed and comment below what AMG models you have had, currently own, or want to own in the future. I will pick from one of these comments over the next few videos at random by the end of the month here in February of 2022. This pump is a great upgrade for those heat-soaked engines over the stock pump that like to fail and will keep the supercharger engaged by not letting intake temps get too high. I use one on my E55 and it's made a world of difference. Now, back to the video.
So as we look at these two cars, I've broken this down into 7 categories. So for number 1, let's start at price. The C32 almost always costs less than a C55 in every mileage range and condition, partly because they are older and partly because of AMG's model branding, and then there's general market-driven influences. C55s usually seem to command a $2,000 to $5,000 premium over its C32 V6 counterpart, but I think that for the most part, that extra cost is translated into higher prices when you go to sell. Inflation has swelled the used car market, so prices are generally up across the board, but I do think that really cheap versions of these cars have begun to disappear, and it's getting very hard to find a C32 in good condition under $6,000 and any C55 under $8,000. I think the C55 has always carried more recognition as having the 55 badge, giving it much more affinity with the larger E55, CL55, S55, SL55, G55, and the like. Of course, the next category, drivetrain, also influences price, and the M113 5.4 liter V8 in the C55 is generally more well-loved than the 3.2 liter supercharged V6, the M112K, and the C32. The C55 is generally considered more reliable long-term. The C32 is not as much, but pretty reliable as well, and you can do power outing mods much easier. Sound and feel-wise, the V8 is much louder and has a more lumpy torque feel that revs out nicely. The supercharged C32 has a nice subtle supercharger whine, but is not as raw and visceral and thus feels more like a V6. Now the C32 can easily be made faster than the C55 with a pulley and tune and other cooling upgrades. The C55 is fractionally faster stock to stock. It should also be noted that while the cars share the same great transmission architecture, the C55 has an additional manual mode button to use buttons behind the steering wheel. Next category is brakes and handling. For brakes, they feel to me the same. The AMG stick to the road on 17-inch wheels on the C32 and 18-inch on the C55. Of note here, my C55 has my old C32 wheels, so these are 17-inch ones you're seeing here. Handling-wise, the C55 has a harsher ride, a bit firmer than the C32, which has a bit more roll and also a bit softer suspension. My driving skills could not find a very strong difference in hard cornering ability, so both cars are quite nimble. Of course, not like lighter BMW nimble, but very respectable. Speaking of BMWs, as many of you know, I sold my Z3 a while ago, and my analytics show that I received subscribers for my Z3 content. So I'd like to recommend for those interested in Z3 content that you go subscribe to a great channel for the Z3, Moment of Zed. Mark over there has completed many great videos about them, and a link for his channel can be found in the description below. He does a great thing on his channel, which is asking his subscribers to send in images of their Z3 for features, so I like that idea, and I would like to do that with you all and display AMG subscriber photos at the end of every month's Q&A and giveaway winner announcement video. So if you're interested in sharing, please send me images of your AMGs to baldmanmotorstipline@gmail.com, and we will feature them here. In the exterior category, you have a factory rear spoil on the C55 and a front clip from a W209 CLK55. So it looks sleeker and more pointy, and it has different headlights and a 2-piece grille. The previous owner installed this CLK grille on my C55. This is not stock, just for reference. The C32, meanwhile, has the advantage of more aftermarket headlight options, cheaper replacement body parts costs, and more simple 1-piece grille. I think both cars look great, and both are still quite subtle for their performance level. Interior-wise, the C55 has a more modern feel with dash and center console updates with firmer seat side bolsters, while the C32 has an older dash presentation and more data control surfaces, but has a bit more comfort for long drives with softer seats and suspension. Neither are too harsh for everyday use or the occasional long road trip. I drove both cars on 1,000-mile plus trips and they did great. For the maintenance cost category, the C55 is very reliable, but you have 4 more spark plugs, 16 instead of 12, 2 more coil packs, but cheaper air filters, no supercharger belt, and this engine is shared in a lot more cars, so used parts are easier to find in my experience. The C32 supercharger is a bit more to maintain, like pulley bearings and occasional supercharger oil, and the early C32s also suffered cam issues and more electrical gremlins. I have seen 4 different C32s for sale with ECU problems and no start issues, though I haven't seen a C55 with those issues, but mine also does have the common lifter tick issue, so I guess it's a trade-off. Like in most purchases, finding the most well-maintained example, whichever you choose, is far better than saving a grand or two on purchase price. Lastly, let's look at rarity. The 2005 to 2006 produced C55 is more rare than the 02 to 04 C32. Here's a list of production numbers that have entered the North American market, and we can see that the C55 has more rarity overall, 1,750 versus 2,697, a 36% increase in rarity, but the 2004 model year C32 would be the rarest individual year at only 219. So now that you've seen these features and differences, please share what you think down below. Tell me what you think and keep the conversation going. And until next time, bye for now.